All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, thanks for coming. My name is Linda Adams. I work with the Staff and Faculty Health and Wellbeing program on campus, and I have a lot of students come in with me, and they have some great information to share with us. And Stephanie Liu is our speaker today. She'll tell you a little bit about herself in a moment. I want to let you know that the presentation is being recorded, and we will send out the recording. Additionally, Stephanie has a couple of handout kind of additional pieces that you will be forwarded after the webinar is over. You can communicate with us by using the chat box and by using the Q&A. If you have a question, you can go ahead and submit it, but we encourage you to type into the chat box, and that's a good way to kind of get engaged with the program. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Stephanie. Thank you so much for coming today, Stephanie. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Linda. So like she mentioned, my name is Stephanie, and I'm currently working under the guidance of Linda as a dietetic intern to become a registered dietitian. So a little bit about me. I'm currently based in sunny San Diego. I came out here to complete my undergraduate and master's degrees in foods, nutrition, and nutritional sciences from San Diego State University. In terms of my professional experience, I've worked in the treatment of eating disorders for a few years in all the various levels of care. So helping people to develop a healthy and happy relationship with food as well as their bodies is really where my passion lies within this field. And a big part of that tends to be to help people set and achieve goals that not only benefit them, but that they feel deeply connected to. So that leads us to the topic of today's webinar, which is getting smart about your nutrition goals. So I'm not sure if you're all aware, but the Staff Faculty Health and Wellbeing program has a wellness self-coaching tool available to you. So this is one approach that you can take to guide you through your wellness journey, and something we can currently offer in lieu of being able to offer one-on-one wellness coaching. So this is meant to help you take something that could be potentially daunting and help you hone down on where to start and what to do. So in this presentation, I'll be walking you through the 4 steps of the wellness self-coaching framework. And I'll be sharing helpful tips and tricks and giving you examples of each step. As an overview, the first step is completing a wellness assessment. This step is meant to help you identify which areas of your wellness that you would like to focus your efforts on. Then the second step is creating a wellness vision. Think of this as something similar to a company's mission statement. It's really meant to help you identify your core values and your purpose. Then the third step is setting and achieving goals. So this can be difficult when our goals are too broad or when we don't take the time to consider the steps of what to do to achieve our goals. So we'll actually be spending a decent amount of time working through this step, and we'll be working through an example goal. Then the fourth and last step is planning your progress. This step is meant to give you a clear and manageable way to plan and track your progress. This approach also gives you the opportunity to make adjustments as needed in order to help you be more successful at achieving your end goal. So given my background, I will be giving a nutrition focus on this process, but do keep in mind that these tools can be utilized for all different aspects of your life. So hopefully from this workshop, you'll be able to take away information that will be helpful for you on your wellness journey as you utilize the wellness self-coaching tool or our other services here. So before we start with the first step of the framework, I thought it would be helpful to start with reviewing some of the areas of concerns that the Dietary Guidelines for Americans has kind of mentioned and noted to focus our efforts towards improving. So while some of you here may already have health goals you'd like to address, some of you may not. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, let's review some of the areas of concern. So the first area of concern I wanted to address was excess sodium intake. So the current recommendation for daily sodium intake is 2,300 milligrams, which is about 1 teaspoon of table salt. As you can see, our average intake significantly exceeds this recommended limit. And actually, only a small portion of our sodium intake is from salt that we add at home while we're cooking. Most sodium consumed in the United States is actually coming from commercial food processing and preparation. And unfortunately, yes, that does include foods prepared at restaurants. So I bring this up because 45% of adults are currently living with high blood pressure. Reduced dietary intake of sodium is a modifiable risk factor that can help improve blood pressure control and reduce your risk of hypertension. Hypertension is a preventable and manageable risk factor for cardiovascular disease and stroke. So I really do want to take a moment to emphasize that it's important to know your numbers so you can properly manage your pressure. So the next area of concern I'd like to address is low fiber intake. So the current recommendation is to consume 25 to 30 grams per day. More than 90% of women and 97% of men do not currently meet these recommended intakes. So why do I bring this up? Why is fiber beneficial? Eating foods high in fiber can help you regulate your bowel movements, maintain your bowel health, lower cholesterol levels, and help you to feel fuller for longer. Fiber is found in foods such as fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, beans, and other legumes. So you definitely could get away with simplifying this to mean things from plants. Dietary patterns that do not meet the recommended intakes of fruits, vegetables, whole grains contribute to low intakes of dietary fiber. Or in other words, oftentimes a low fiber intake is indicative of a lack of variety in your diet, and it also likely indicates you're not meeting your recommended needs for the various food groups. And speaking of fruits and vegetables, they are not only great sources of fiber, but also of various vitamins and nutrients. Unfortunately, as you can see, the vast majority of Americans are not currently meeting their recommended intake for fruits or vegetables. The dietary guideline for Americans recommends that an intake of 2.5 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruit on a daily basis. Oftentimes you'll see these recommended intakes be referred to in cups. However, I've come to find that on a day-to-day basis, that form of measurement isn't always as intuitive or convenient for most people. So as you can see here, I've made a little reference for you to roughly visualize what a serving of fruit or vegetables looks like using some tools that you likely usually have with you, your hands. So we call these guidelines, and as you can see, depending on what fruit or vegetable you may be kind of using your hands to measure, this is a small guide. And the great thing about most fruits is they already come in their own packaging. So smaller fruits such as kiwis would be about 2 pieces, medium fruits, apples, bananas would be about 1. Okay, so now that I've highlighted some potential areas of nutrition to consider working on, I want to walk you through our 4-step framework. So our first step, like I mentioned earlier, is the wellness assessment worksheet. This worksheet here categorizes wellness into 8 dimensions, which I think makes something as overwhelming as analyzing your entire life a little bit more approachable. So for each dimension, there are a number of statements for you to rank its relatability to your circumstances, as well as your motivation to change the behavior in question. So when I was preparing for this presentation and I was filling out this wellness assessment for the presentation, but also for my personal use, it actually took me quite some time to get myself to do it, to answer all the questions, and to really reflect. So if it looks a little overwhelming, just try your best, definitely take your time and reflect and answer as authentically as possible. And as you can see, this nice little graphic here shows you that the dimensions of wellness are physical, spiritual, emotional, occupational, intellectual, environmental, financial, and social. So yeah, if you find all these dimensions in that worksheet a bit daunting to start out with, feel free to just go ahead and choose physical wellness. Has anyone had a chance to fill out this worksheet or check out the link that Linda sent down there? Feel free to share in the chat regarding what dimensions you'd kind of like to work on, or about your experiences or familiarity with working on your wellness or setting nutrition goals. Oh yeah, resend the link. Yes, so on that link there, you can find all 4 of the wellness framework steps, as well as the worksheets. There's a lot of good stuff on that website in general. Okay.
Hold on just a second, Stephanie. I have 2 people who have raised their hands.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm going to unmute.
Okay.
3 people. I'm going to unmute Lori, Barbara, and Michelle so that you guys can talk if you have something to ask.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, so I'm not sure how to get the wellness assessment sheet.
Okay. Do you see the chat box?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and do you see a link in there?
No.
Interesting.
Here, I'm going to resend it right now. Oh, it's
Rachel doesn't either.
Oh, you know what?
oh,
That
I
was
can.
my bad. Holy cow.
I guess I've only been sending, Linda and I've been sending it back and forth to one another.
Thank you, Lori, Michelle.
You're so welcome.
I was like, oh, I'm sending the link. Alrighty. The joys of technology, right?
All right, go ahead, Stephanie.
Okay. So now that everyone has the worksheets, I think we're off to a good start. Okay. So once you're able to identify which dimension of wellness you'd like to work on, the next step is to create a wellness vision. So that consists of core questions and reflection questions for you to answer to help you actualize your vision. So the wellness vision is meant to help you paint a clear picture of what health promoting, life-giving behaviors you want to be doing consistently in your future. So your wellness vision should guide you in making decisions and setting your goals by helping you to focus your priorities. And also it encompasses the behaviors, feelings, values, and relationships that are most important to you. So the purpose of this step is to kind of give you an anchor to gain confidence and motivation to move forward in your health and wellness journey. So since this step of the framework is, I think, especially specific to you and your answers and your life, I think a better utilization of our time would be to not go through a step-by-step example of my answers. So I'd actually like to take a little bit of time to speak about self-determination theory, as I think it'll be helpful in helping you to create an impactful wellness vision. Okay, so the self-determination theory represents a broad framework for the study of human motivation and personality. It places its emphasis on people's inherent motivational propensities for learning and growing, and also how they can be supported in these endeavors. So according to this theory, motivation lies on a continuum, with no motivation on one side and controlled and autonomous motivation on the other side. As you can see, controlled motivation includes external regulation, which is a type of motivation in which your behavior is directed by external rewards and punishment. Controlled motivation also encompasses introjected regulation, or motivation that comes from only partially internalized activities and values, with motives being such as avoiding shame, seeking approval, and protecting the ego. So some examples of controlled motivation as a whole would be feeling motivated by weight loss, feeling motivated by feelings of guilt or shame, tracking calories or steps, improving your cholesterol, or being motivated by competition. So I know like step challenges tend to be very popular between departments and colleagues and stuff. So that would be an example of this type of motivation. I do want to pause for a moment and to just emphasize something. So I know I just mentioned guilt and shame, and that is part of like the idea of the self-determination theory itself. However, while it's normal to feel guilt or shame at times in our lives, I want to emphasize that you shouldn't feel guilt or shame towards your food choices. All foods fit into a healthy dietary pattern, and your self-worth and happiness shouldn't be determined or influenced by what you eat or what you look like. Like I mentioned earlier, my background's in eating disorders, so of course I had to take a moment to say that. But back to the self-determination theory. So that leads us to autonomous motivation. So that comes from internal sources, but it also can include motivation from extrinsic sources if you can identify with the activity's value and you feel personally connected to it. So some examples of this type of motivation would be being motivated by feeling good, by enjoying the activity, by the chance for reducing your physical symptoms, or simply being motivated by the emotional benefits that you'll gain. So both types of motivation are helpful, and it's likely that you will find a combination of these types of motivations. However, studies have shown that those motivated by primarily autonomous motivation, more specifically intrinsic motivators, are more likely to engage in and sustain the behavior change long term. So the idea here is that if you're able to find a source of motivation that you really, truly, deeply resonate with on a deeper level, you're more likely to engage in it and sustain the behavior change because you feel personally connected to it. So that's the self-determination theory. So keep that in mind when you're doing your wellness vision. That leads us to step 3, which is about helping you to set and achieve your goals. So a SMART goal is used to guide in goal setting. Some of you may be familiar with it. SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So a SMART goal incorporates all of these criteria to help focus your efforts and increase your chance at achieving your goal. So a key part of its value is that SMART prompts you into the act of clearly considering and defining your goals and objectives as you set it. So this reduces the risk of creating a vague or unclear goal that's unlikely to be achieved. So within the framework that we have created for you here, the time frame of our SMART goal is 3 months. So in the following slides, I'm going to be showing you an example of how SMART can be helpful in creating a health goal. Alrighty, so this is the initial goal that I selected for our example. Having a more vague goal like eat healthier, exercise more, eat more fruits and vegetables can lead to frustration because there's no clear starting point for your goal. There's no way to evaluate the feasibility of it. And there's really no way for you to know if you succeeded. So that's where SMART comes in. Okay, so your goal should be clear and specific. Otherwise, you won't be able to focus your efforts or feel truly motivated to achieve it. So if any of you are looking at the worksheet or you have it open, right here in green is the prompt that's directly on the worksheet. So what would you want to accomplish and why? If you feel like maybe you would like a little more guidance beyond that prompt, I would suggest that when you're drafting your goal, to keep the 5 W questions in mind. So that would be, what do I want to accomplish? Why is the goal important? Who is involved? Where is it located? And which resources or limits are involved? Depending on what dimension of wellness you're working on or what your initial goal is, all of these questions may not apply, but I do think it's great to keep them in mind to just kind of guide you in the right direction. So keeping that in mind, this is the example I came up with. So I want to eat a piece of fruit with my breakfast and a vegetable with my dinner 2 times a week. I'm currently not eating any. So I know that's what I want to accomplish. And why? I know I am not meeting the recommended intake of fruits and vegetables, but that doing so will help me feel better physically. Okay, so that's pretty specific, right? That leads us to M. So it's important to have measurable goals so that you can track your progress and also stay motivated. Ooh, I guess there's an emergency somewhere. Assessing your progress helps you to stay focused and meet your deadlines and feel the excitement of getting closer to achieving your end goal. So a measurable goal should address questions such as how much, how many, and how will I know when it is accomplished? So keeping that in mind, this is what I came up with. I will keep track of the 2 fruits and vegetables I try every week, including how I consume them and if I enjoyed it. So that's how we're going to measure it. That leads us to A for achievable. So your goal also needs to be realistic and attainable in order for you to be successful at it. In other words, it should stretch your abilities, but still remain in the realm of possibility. When you set an achievable goal, you may actually even be able to identify previously overlooked opportunities or resources that could bring you closer to succeeding in it. So an achievable goal will usually answer questions such as, how can I accomplish this goal? and how realistic is the goal based on other constraints, such as your comfortability or ability in the kitchen. So keeping that in mind, this is my example. So trying to add fruits and vegetables to my meals 2 times a week is an approachable goal for me because I'm easing myself into this lifestyle change. I plan on buying the fruits and vegetables during my weekly grocery trip, and I will eat the fruit with my breakfast, and I will cook the vegetable to eat with my dinners. So that's how it's going to be achievable for me. That leads us to R for relevant. So this step is really about ensuring that your goal matters to you and that also aligns with your other relevant goals in your life. So we definitely all need support and assistance in achieving our goals. But it's important to maintain our control over them, because in the end, you yourself are still responsible for achieving your own goal. So a relevant goal can answer yes to these questions. Does it seem worthwhile? Is this the right time? Does this match my other efforts and needs? Am I the right person to achieve this goal? And especially with this inflation period, is it applicable in the current socioeconomic status? So keeping that in mind, this is the example I came up with. I want to improve my health. I don't want to feel fatigued and sluggish every day. I know if I eat more nutrient-dense foods, my energy levels will improve as well as my health parameters. So that's why it's relevant. And then that leads us to T for timely. So every goal needs a target date. So you have a time frame to focus your efforts on and something to work towards. This part of the SMART goal criteria helps to prevent your everyday tasks from taking priority over your longer term goals. So a time-bound goal will usually answer questions such as when, what can I do 3 months from now? What can I do 3 weeks from now? And what can I do today? So this is what I came up with. I will begin on September 1st, and then I'm going to evaluate my goal on December 1st. So I want to increase my fruit and vegetable intake each month until I'm able to incorporate fruits and vegetables into my eating on a daily basis. So the time frame example I chose for a 3-month frame is for the first month, I'm going to be working on incorporating each fruit and veg 2 times a week. And then for the second month, I'm going to bump it up to 4 times a week each. And then on the third month, I'm going to be working on it on a daily basis. Okay, so then the very last step of the SMART goal is to review what we have written for each acronym and then write a whole new goal statement that incorporates all the details that we've outlined. So this is my SMART goal statement for our example. So I will incorporate fruits and vegetables into my eating 2 times a week in order to improve my energy levels and overall health. I'll keep track of what fruits and vegetables I try, how I consume them, and if I enjoyed them. I will increase my weekly intake each month until I'm able to incorporate fruits and vegetables into my eating on a daily basis. So that's our SMART goal example. Okay, so that leads us to our 4th and last step of the framework, which is planning your progress. So this step is meant to help you break down your 3-month SMART goal into a month-by-month plan. The first part of this step is to combine our works from steps 2 and 3, meaning that you're going to copy and paste your wellness vision and 3-month goal at the top of month 1's worksheet. So this worksheet gives you the option to fill out each consecutive week with smaller short-term goals to plan your progress in a clear, manageable way. However, you may skip this part if you feel like you would prefer to focus solely on your SMART goal. And actually, for example, I'll also only be focusing on our main SMART goal. At the end of each month, you can decide to increase the intensity or scale back depending on what's working for you. You'll also be able to be given the opportunity to reflect on your progress and also revisit your wellness vision and SMART goal to make any helpful adjustments. With this approach, you should be able to begin integrating realistic and manageable changes, which will help you be more successful at achieving your greater goal. However, if you feel like this month time frame is a bit daunting or just a bit too much, I would suggest actually for the first month that you reflect upon your progress on a weekly basis and then adjust things on a weekly basis. So that's what I'm going to do for our first month example. Okay, so here at the top, you can see my progress for week 1. Instead of kind of filling out the worksheet with you, I'm actually going to verbally walk you through my experience and share my reflections and realizations, maybe share some tips in there. Okay, so for week 1. So I ended up only having fruit once this week, and I ended up not trying any of the vegetables. So let me tell you what happened. So I got 2 oranges to try this week to meet my fruit goal. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I, ate the orange and it was tasteless. It didn't taste like anything. And it really didn't make me want to try the second one. So kind of just gave up on that, to be honest. And then for the vegetable goal, I was a little too ambitious. I was excited to work on my SMART goal, and I was at the store and I saw an eggplant, and I'm like, okay, I like eggplant parm. I like eggplant dishes. So I bought it. And then I got home and I realized, I've never made eggplant by myself before. And I don't know any recipes. I didn't look up any recipes. So by the time I got home from work every day that week, I just stared at the eggplant and chose something else. So I did not feel that motivated for that one. So keeping in mind what I learned about myself from week 1, this is how my week 2 turned out. So I definitely made a little bit more progress, as you can see. I actually already decided to deviate from my original plan. So I decided that it would work better for me to split my fruit goal into 2 smaller, more specific goals. So I tried a fruit smoothie from a local business this week, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's not something I usually try. I don't know, just never ventured to it. So I actually liked it so much. I think I'm going to consider making my own smoothies. It seems really convenient and especially refreshing with the hot weather we've been suffering through lately. The fruit salad didn't really work out for me. I thought it would be a fun way to kind of try a variety of fruits and like really go for my goal. However, I'm not sure why I decided I wanted to make my own. It just, once the time came, it didn't make any sense for me. I actually live alone, and all the recipes I could find for fruit salad required a lot of different types of fruits. And I wasn't even sure if I would like it. So I just didn't get around to doing that one. It just seemed unrealistic for me. It sounded good when I was planning for it though. However, I really, really felt great about my vegetable goal this week. I decided to try adding spinach to my eggs in the morning, and I found that spinach rolls up into basically nothing. So I realized I could eat a lot more of it and enjoy it more than I could if it was in a raw form. It actually got me thinking that I could probably add it to like pastas and stir fries pretty easily. So I realized I actually really enjoy spinach, and it's a great versatile vegetable for me. Okay, so then working off of what I learned the previous week, here's my progress for week 3 on the top. So like I mentioned, you guys, really enjoyed the fruit smoothie I had. So I wanted to work off of that momentum and confidence I built, and I decided to make my own smoothie twice this week. And it was great. I got frozen fruit, which I really liked using, not only because it gave my smoothie a great creamy, thick consistency, I also didn't have to worry about it going bad. Like I said, it's just me, I live alone. So it worked great. And I actually even went for the A+ this week. I actually even threw in some spinach from the last week in there. And again, I realized I really enjoyed the spinach. And then I decided for my vegetable goal to split it into 2 specific smaller goals. So as you can see, I tried out a pre-made salad kit this week. Yeah, and that was really great for me because I was able to try out a new salad flavor profile without having to buy all the individual ingredients on my own before I even knew if I liked it. So it was a little less of a commitment for me, but I still got to try it. Along the same lines of thought, the frozen vegetable medley was really great for me. I enjoyed having on hand. It was so easy to prepare, and I could try a different variety of things. So I think in the future, I'm going to keep some of those on hand in my freezer so I can always make sure to have a vegetable with my meal. And really feeling more confident with my goals as I'm kind of learning what works for me, what doesn't. So this is how my week 4 went. Since I enjoyed the salad kits so much, I decided to try 2 this week. It's really helping me figure out what things I like and what I don't. And I think I'm going to start buying the individual ingredients to prepare my own salads. Don't get me wrong, I really, really like the kits. They're really convenient, and I'll definitely be kind of adding it into my life. but I do have to admit, I think it's a little more cost effective to make my own salads. So, got to try it for that. And even though I really, really enjoy the smoothies, I'm going to keep going for them. I did want to explore more ways I could add fruit into my diet because I'm trying to make a lifestyle change. So I probably need a couple more strategies, right? Speaking of that, so remembering what happened on week 1 with the oranges, I decided to look up what fruits were currently in season. And so that led me to choosing cherries and apples to try for week 4. And it was a great idea. I really enjoyed it. I really like to eat good in-season fruit, I guess. So that's what I found out about myself this week. Okay, so then I continued on using the same strategies I found worked for me for months 2 and 3. The only thing I changed for these 2 months was I increased the frequency of my intake. So if you remember from the SMART goal, my goal was to go from 2 times a week each for fruits and veg to 4 times a week for each for month 2, and then for month 3 to be incorporating it on a daily basis. So if any of you, now that we finally were able to share the worksheets with you, if any of you have it open or you're looking at it, you may have noticed that I didn't fully complete and cover the entire worksheets for step 4. That was definitely intentional. First and foremost, I have to admit, it was mostly due that I was worried I was going to go over the time. And, I only have a short time period with you. And it would definitely take me a long time to go through all of that. But secondly, I also wanted to demonstrate that you don't necessarily need to complete every component of every step of this framework in order to be successful with working on your wellness. You definitely know yourself best. So feel free to pick and choose whatever components of this framework you resonate with to utilize on your wellness journey. That being said, I will verbally share some of my self-reflections from this example. So although I didn't have 100% across the board here for month 3, I don't see that as failing at meeting my goal necessarily. Progress is never linear, so there's always going to be ups and downs as we figure out what to do, right? However, throughout this process, I was able to identify barriers to why I wasn't really eating fruits or vegetables before. I was able to learn what did and didn't work for me. And I was able to explore different foods and even expand some of my culinary horizons. So to me, that's a win, right? I'm working towards figuring out what to do. So while we definitely set goals with intention of meeting them, and we want to meet them, try not to only be fixated on the end result. Self-growth and long-term change is kind of what is learned throughout our journey. So you're going to gain more by trying and maybe even failing at times than never trying at all. And of course, change is really difficult. I don't think we acknowledge that often. Change is difficult, behavior change is difficult. So give yourself grace as you strive towards your healthy lifestyle goals. So I really hope this presentation has helped make this daunting task a little bit more approachable to you. And please remember, you're not alone on this journey. Be sure to lean into the support systems you have in your lives. And of course, we here at the Staff Faculty Health and Wellbeing Program, as well as UC Davis Occupational Health as a whole, are here to support you in your endeavors. We have a number of resources available to you, which I have linked here for your convenience. Thank you very, very much for joining us here today and for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all on how to get smart with your nutrition goals.